Whatever grievance you have on your mind right now, Clay, the mic is yours.
Yeah, Jason Autry would be my grievance. He's the guy that did was the referee for the Auburn game. Mm-hmm. I still count that as a Razorback victory. I think the Auburn people counted as an Auburn loss as they fired Gus. They probably they used that for convenience, right? Yeah. And I guess the other grievance would be against Ken Switzer, who was the replay guy in the booth for the Auburn game, and he was also, I believe he was the replay guy on one of the games that Jalen Catalon was ejected. So he got us twice this year.
I feel like
that would be grievance.
I feel like a lot of people would agree with the refs being their grievance of the 2020 football season because the same. I mean, Clay. I mean, and I don't like to blame the refs, but I mean, some of those games that did change the direction of the game. Particularly with that Auburn game, the LSU game, a couple calls go differently. But there, instead of a 3-7 season, you could be possibly looking at a 5-5, 4-6 year.
Yeah, and then the unsportsmanlike call against Joe Fouché in the Missouri game, and you go forward and you watch other SEC games, including the Florida LSU game, and you see these guys do the exact same thing after the same exact plays, and I don't know whether the memo got out, don't call it like that anymore. I don't know what happened, but they didn't. They changed the way they called it. So it as they say, it sucks.
Ain't no ends or ups about it. But Matty T, also, we got to be quick with Phil. We got to be quick with Clay today because Clay, you're celebrating an anniversary today. Is that what I understood?
Yes, 42.
Wow,
happy
anniversary.
Yep, thank you. Jean Ann has put up with me for 42 years. And so we've got a 12-year-old lab, and we mentioned dog years with her, her age, and she says, just think about how many years 42 is in dog years. I was like, oh my gosh. I don't know whether that was a Festivus grievance on her part, to say, that she's been saddled for that many years by, being married to me.
Absolutely.
So I didn't really, I let that conversation just kind of drift away.
Just come back and find another day with that. So obviously you've got to have big plans tonight because I know me and you were talking before the show, getting everything figured out for today. Hopefully get to go fly fishing if the weather cooperates. Then you got to be taking Miss Jean Ann out somewhere nice for tonight.
Oh yeah, we're going to not too far from people that know this area will know this restaurant, and I don't know how many stars you would give it, but I consider it for Baxter County to be 5 stars, and that's Whispering Woods, and it overlooks Norfolk Lake, and it's just a gorgeous place. So we have dinner reservations for there, and you need reservations. It's that kind of place. So
Whispering Woods, okay.
Whispering Woods, yep. It's as good as the name sounds.
That sounds good.
Sounds nice.
You can open up the menu, and it's one of those places where you just close your eyes and point. And
that's the kind of restaurant
where
I
your
like.
Finger hit, where your finger hit, it's going to be pretty good. And they'll have some really good desserts, and they have a chalkboard with specials on the wall with different sides, and the side will be something that's like 2 lines. It's got 15 words in it on how it's made. I was like, oh yeah, that sounds good. Can't go wrong with that.
Can't go.
Even if it's something with sweet potatoes in it or something, it'll be good. Yeah, my wife's a sweet potato person. If there's an item with sweet potatoes, then she's probably going to order it.
Man, he just made me hungry, Matty T. Goodness gracious.
I know. I had to pull up the menu on Facebook and start looking at all this stuff.
Look at that.
Last Sunday they had a 6-ounce grilled filet mignon topped with sautéed shrimp and a garlic white wine sauce and served with your choice of 2 sides.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah.
That sounds really good.
And then, I probably will have some creme brulee to go with it to finish it off.
I love it.
Yep. Do you mean we need to road trip up there and crash the anniversary date, Matty T? I think.
Can we?
Well, Clay, let's jump right on into it. Obviously, some of the big news from Razorback football yesterday, Feleipe Franks declaring that he is going to be playing in this bowl game. And I think a lot of people were, I don't know if anticipating him to opt out, but just there was nothing else left for him to prove. But what really I took away from it, and he mentioned this in his press conference when he met with the media yesterday, he wanted to finish what he started. And, Clay, that spoke a lot of volumes to me, and that's something that I don't think a lot of current athletes take advantage of, because, I mean, if you start something, you need to finish it. And I give Feleipe Franks a lot of credit for that, and that'll prove to be pivotal in this ball game.
Well, and I think it also will send a really good message to NFL teams that are thinking about him, that he is that, when you pick a quarterback in the NFL, he's the face of your franchise, and he is what, I don't know how many $1 billion an NFL team is worth now, but that's the guy that's leading that $1 billion organization, and I think the quarterback is, the research they do on the quarterback is unbelievably intense, and I think what they're going to find when you look at Franks is that they're going to like it. It's going to be a good body of work. It's going to be thorough. He's got leadership skills. It was a great interview, and
it really was.
You ought to go online and just sit and kind of soak it in. There's been, I love to go back through history and talk about the quarterbacks at Arkansas, and have fond memories of, guys like Joe Ferguson, who I went to college. I mean, I was in school when he was playing, just think an awful lot of Joe. But you can just go through, the list and the ones that I've been around, guys like Bill Montgomery and on down, the Cal Cagneys, and, it's just been so fun to the quarterback mentality is just different. And these guys do a lot of interviews. They're engaging, you understand why Quinn Grovey is in the radio booth. I mean, because he's got that, persona, and he always had it. Barry Lunny, there's Kevin Scanlon. I remember helping Bo Mattingly find speakers for the Touchdown Club, and I said, just pick a quarterback, any of them, because they do so many interviews, they get good at it, and you could see that with Franks.
Is there an is there an area that NFL scouts are, I guess, questioning still on Feleipe Franks? We know he'll go down as one of the most accurate passers in Razorback history with his completion percentage. Is there an area in your mind that he needs to prove himself in this bowl game and kind of like really put on display with the NFL scouts?
Well, he holds the ball a little bit, and he will, he'll take a sack over throwing it away sometimes. And so there's times when, okay, I've bought a little time with my feet. Now I've got to get rid of the ball. Don't take a sack. And if you take sacks in the NFL, it goes with that acronym, NFL not for long. The quarterbacks will get beat up, and you'll be done. And he's had to play through some injuries this year just because of the number of hits. Now, some of it has been by design. When I say that, there are a lot of called quarterback runs in the Kendall Briles offense, but he's carried the ball the most of a quarterback since the Matt Jones days. And of course Matt was running an option offense. He was a running quarterback, and but you have to look at either Matt Jones or Quinn Grovey for taking more carries than Franks has this year, and he can't do that in the NFL.
Clay, let's keep the conversation right on going. There was a lot of SEC news that came down yesterday with Florida, Tennessee. Let's start off with the big news that came down yesterday. Brian Harsin, former Arkansas State head coach, is now the new head coach of the Auburn Tigers. And after all the names that we've heard, Sarkisian, Venables, Bill Clark, Billy Napier, and now they settled for Brian Harsin. First, what do you think of this hire? And is it just me, or does this kind of feel like a letdown hire in my mind?
He's a solid coach, and they kind of went through the same process as Arkansas. It's like, hey, we think we'll be able to get this guy, and we think we'll be able to get that guy. And then once they started the negotiation, it was apparent that these coaches were all in a position to demand certain things like total control of the program, schedule, hiring, recruiting budget that Auburn wasn't going to give. And they've got 4 billionaires that are on their board of trustees that they want to be in control of the football program. They want to have say-so. They want to be involved. And it ran off their wish list. And so they also have I'll be interested to see how many coaches on the current staff are retained, especially the defensive coaches, because that was one of the stipulations, is that they would if they flushed all of those coaches and hired a complete new staff, they were going to have $3 million in buyouts for those coaches. When Kevin Steele, the coordinators, Chad Morris, and so it'll be interesting to see, if Arson, is stuck with these coaches, or he brings in, and everybody wants to bring his own guys because they already know his system, and it's problematic if you don't bring in new coaches. It's almost you have to make a decision. Am I going to learn their language, their terminology, or are they going to learn mine? And so there aren't very many coaches that, as we just found out, that would take the Auburn job as offered. He's a good coach. I mean, I'm sure the people in Jonesboro that were around him, that from what I heard, he was well thought of there when he was at Arkansas State, and he's done well at Boise.
Be interesting to kind of see how this whole thing plays out, and I hope that he gets his due time, similar to Gus Malzahn. Maybe not necessarily 8 years, but Clay, I'm curious.
I hope he just flounders miserably, and that we can whip up on the Auburn Tigers.
That'd be fine with me too. But
we need some chaos there.
We really do. But I also kind of look at it. I wonder if the parameters of the job scared off a lot of people, because it always seems like you're always under a microscope when you're there, because you got the greatest coach that ever lived just north or just south of you in Tuscaloosa. I just wonder how much of that played a factor into it. And plus, you just got rid of a coach. You paid $21 million to get rid of a guy that beat Nick Saban 3 times, that got you to a national championship game, that did a lot of good for the Auburn Tigers and caused a lot of havoc amongst the SEC, not only just with Arkansas, but a lot of other teams. And I wonder if that scared off like a Steve Sarkisian or Brent Venables, to that way they don't have that on their resume.
Yeah, if you just go back through history and have seen what some good coaches that won there. Tommy Tuberville, he won and did well against Alabama, and of course their viewpoint was, well, Alabama wasn't very good at that particular time, and that's probably true, but beating Alabama is still beating Alabama.
Absolutely.
And if you're at Auburn, but yeah, it is a really tough place for a coach to be successful enough to please the money people there. And make no mistake about it, Alabama is getting stronger, not weaker. Their recent recruiting class, they mopped up, and they picked up some players at the end that were committed to Texas. Really great players. That the turmoil and chaos at Texas, which I love, helped Alabama.
I wonder, you bring up Alabama to the conversation. I had a friend of mine shoot me a text message a couple days ago asking if Nick Saban got another title, do you think he would hang it up and just call it good? And I didn't really know how to respond to that. And I'm curious kind of where you stand, because
no,
I mean, I agree.
What's he going to do?
Exactly. That was kind of my response to him.
Miss Terry, his wife, it's like, don't you come here. You stay over there in that football office. You keep doing what you're doing. I don't need you here.
just keep coaching till you can't do it anymore.
Ball coaches are ball coaches. That's what he is. I got tickled. Somebody reminded me of the statement from Chad Morris that he made. What I am is a father. I'm really not a football coach. That's just what I do for a living. Well, that doesn't really apply to Saban. He is a ball coach. That's what he is.
Yeah.
And I think that's I think he would have a hard time finding something to do that gives him great pleasure. I just don't know how else to explain it.
Maybe he could take Lee Corso's spot on College Game Day or something. Who knows?
Oh, I don't think he would like that.
I don't think he would either. It'd still be fun to see. So, bringing up Alabama into the conversation, let's transition this into the college football playoff. Obviously, Alabama's the number 1 seed. Clay, I don't necessarily have a problem with the 4 teams that were picked. I mean, it is what it is at this point. But you have the 3 or 4 on the outside looking in: Texas A&M, Cincinnati. What needs to happen? And I want to focus this more on Cincinnati because a lot of people have been claiming we need expansion, we need this, we need that. Heck, the Cincinnati athletic director wants to bring back the BCS. If you're in charge, what needs to happen to try to make this quote unquote as fair as possible for those group of 5 teams that slip up in there every year?
Yeah, I think my answer to your question is life's not fair.
Yep.
And I learned that lesson early on. My father taught me that, and I didn't understand it for many years, and get frustrated. Sometimes just life's not fair. That's what you have to say. And I don't think that the playoff system was designed by the Cincinnatis and the Boise States. It was designed by the conference commissioners of the Power 5 teams, and that's what it is. If those teams want to play for a national championship, then they need to go to the other level where they do play a 16-team national championship. I don't think it's going to change. Maybe it is. I would like that. I don't know whether 8 teams or 16 teams. I don't buy the fact that you can't play a 16-team tournament. They do it at the other divisions. It doesn't seem to there doesn't seem to be any fallout over that. I haven't heard any college players that it's damaged their either their bodies or their brains, and I think it would be fun TV. But I don't think you should make too many rash decisions on this year, because this year is not like anything else. Most of the time, we've gotten the right national champion. I haven't seen too many where that team shouldn't have won. But I don't know that that Cincinnati and some of these other teams can play with Alabama. I doubt they can. I think it will be interesting to watch Georgia against Cincinnati. I think Georgia's playing pretty good right now, and they've got their quarterback going. They finally got clearance to play JT Daniels, and he's been terrific. So that's going to be a bowl game. Is that the Chick-fil-A Bowl? Is that the one
Peach
they're
Bowl?
playing?
Yep.
Peach Bowl,
yes,
Chick-fil-A.
That'll definitely.
That's the one that I kind of want to watch. And if Cincinnati just rolls over a good Georgia team, well, maybe we got it all wrong. But I don't think that's where we're at.
I don't think so. I tend to agree with you, too. Clay, we appreciate you joining us. And once again, happy anniversary to you and Miss
Thank you very much.
Merry Christmas to your family. We truly appreciate everything you do, not only for halftime, morning rush, everything you do for us over here. So,
well, it's always fun. Thank y'all, both to Matty T and you, SmackDown. Thanks for making it easy for me.
That's what we'd like to do. That's Clay Henry, the publisher of Hawgs Illustrated. Joins us every Wednesday here on Halftime. Hey, you want a good spot to go watch the games this weekend? Head over to Buffalo Wild Wings. They got great wing sauces. You've heard me talk months and months about. The smoked brisket burger is a great choice for you to go get that, pair it with a nice cold beer, and then also watch some football. It's a dynamite combination over at Buffalo Wild Wings. You can find locations in Fort Smith, Sherwood, Little Rock, Jonesboro, and in Conway, and that's Buffalo Wild Wings. Hour number 2 of Halftime coming up next.